Don't you realize the next time you see Sky, it'll be over another town. The next time you take a test, it'll be in some other school. Our parents, they want the best of stuff for us. But right now, they gotta do what's right for them. Because it's their time, up there. Down here, it's our time. It's our time down here. That's all over the second we write up Cheat Codes' bucket. It's March 10th, everybody, 2016. Welcome to episode 88 of the Cheat Codes podcast. Thank you for tuning in. The next hour is us drinking a few beers and going over our favorite bits from the past week in video game, tech, and pop culture news. My name is Joe Erskine. I am your host, back in the saddle again. And we're coming to you from the booby-trapped quarters of a beat-up pirate ship while we hide out from the Fratellis. Today I'm here with Cheat Codes producer and editor, Mr. Joe Sloth Arroyo.
Hey, you guys.
Cheat Codes contributor, Mr. Nick Chunk Golish.
They got Rocky Road.
Chocolate eruption.
Today on the show, we'll do the Truffle Shuffle to get to the main topics. Tim Sweeney has a bone to pick with Microsoft. Why is everybody dropping out of E3? And why do we even like the games we like?
Like, why?
Like why, guys?
Like,
Complicated question.
For today's lightning round, we'll hide the jewels in our marble bag that are the following bits. Palmer Luckey takes a big swing at Apple. And lastly, are lengthy games bad for us and for gaming? Dun dun dun. Dramatic pause.
welcome back, Joe Erskine.
Thanks, man. Thank you for holding it down while I was gone, Nick.
Missed you?
Nice job with the giveaways, man. It's doing really good. People
Yeah.
seem to be very pleased.
Well, they're good games we're giving away.
It's true. Stardew Valley, holy shit.
Yeah.
People got excited about that one.
Especially this guy.
Yeah.
Nick Golish has been playing it.
I've been playing a little bit.
He left dinosaurs.
You spending
By
cheat
that I
codes
meant
money
Ark,
on
but yeah.
our contest winners and yourself, I take it, huh?
What was that? I'm sorry?
You're spending cheat codes money on
Oh, yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
We gotta make sure the games are fun.
Yeah, well,
I gotta
vet
test
them
them.
appropriately.
Gotta try them out.
I appreciate somebody's got to do it. I'm glad you're doing it.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. Well, I'm glad to be back, guys. Nice
Now,
job, by
you-
the way, on the past couple episodes.
Thank you.
It was good.
I appreciate that. Did you... What was the quote that you gave me in where you didn't know her well enough to enter her bedroom?
Oh, it's
with Stardew Valley.
What are we talking about? Okay.
In a game.
Yeah. Well, you see, in this game, I was trying to bang this one girl, and it said I didn't know her well enough to enter her bedroom. I guess I hadn't given her enough gifts yet.
Well, it turns out that the game put enough thought into that, and that's nice.
It was
Did it put enough thought, or did it just like perpetuate some dumb trope that if you buy stuff for girls, then they'll sleep with you?
Well, that I didn't know that all I had to do was buy gifts.
Well,
to
you
be
got to
able
buy
enter-
gifts and then talk to them and
Then you have to- you gotta
Talk to them. So annoying.
Holy crap!
We're off to a good start here, guys.
That was a very telling moment.
Yeah. All right. Very quickly, let's talk about what we're washing this episode down with. When we are not rescuing our bucolic Pacific Coast town from asshole real estate developers with zany adventures, we're here talking about games and drinking beers. So for the sake of consistency, we're enjoying some Bier de Bucanier from the folks at Brewers von Steinberg. I don't know. I butchered the shit out of that, I'm sure, but I don't know. Let's face it, we can't really drink with One-Eyed Willie. He's pretty dead. But we're pretty sure he prefers grog anyway.
Yeah. Plus the Buccaneer on the
Bucanier.
the Buccaneer. He has an eye patch too. He's
He does.
also
That's
one
why
of-
we thought it would be appropriate for this episode.
See.
It's a nice Belgian golden ale, 11%. So things might get interesting.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's good. Belgian beer is good beer. Everybody should drink some.
Yeah, we're about 11% sure that we're going to stay on track.
It's a probably accurate estimation. All right, we got plenty to talk about today, so let's have at it. Last Friday, Tim Sweeney took to The Guardian to publish an op-ed that acts as both an argument and a warning. He wrote about Microsoft and its plans to influence PC gaming through its digital download store and its UWP, which is the Universal Windows Platform Initiative. He's afraid that developers will be shoved into a corner to use Windows Store to gain access to the UWP features. Sweeney's a pretty big deal. I mean, guy runs Unreal, co-founder, responsible for Gears of War with Cliffy.
Epic specifically.
Epic, yeah, all that stuff. And obviously Microsoft's a pretty big deal as well. But when someone like Tim speaks up, people tend to listen. So we got interested in this. Is this more homeless end times prophet or a cute do-gooder with a heart of gold kind of scenario? Let's break it down, I guess. There's a lot of concern here, I think. Windows updates automatically, right? And what he's afraid of is that while the UWP features aren't all that interesting right now, that Microsoft could go in and can start altering things to basically just force feed stuff through updates, and that it's ultimately going to take kind of like a step towards a monopolization of the PC marketplace. And
I think one of the concerns is a lot of people, like, sure, there's this open market on the PC. You can put everything you want on it, and everybody has access to the DirectX API and stuff. But if for some reason this Microsoft decided, we don't want other people to actually use DirectX, they could like flip a switch, and Windows 10 would eventually make it so nobody else could play anything unless it came through the Windows Store or something.
Right.
So
that's kind of it's. I don't know. Okay, I'll just speak from developer terms. Imagine that like you're working with an API that you specifically write all of your like graphic systems code around, and then one day it just stops working. Yeah. And you can't use it for anything but the Windows Store.
Unless you sold the game through the Windows Store, it's like you can't then
now you can't put it on Steam unless you want to go rewrite all your graphics based code to use, OpenGL or
DirectX, whatever. Yeah.
I don't think Microsoft is going to do this because I don't think they're this stupid. And
he makes a strong point at the beginning of the thing, saying that when it comes to monopolization, I mean, Microsoft has been in a position like this before.
Yeah, and it's really hard to like accurately make an assessment on this. I think from my point of view, because I look at it from a gaming standpoint, and like gaming is really big on PCs.
Sure.
But what's bigger on gaming on PCs is business. Like so many businesses run on Windows, and like pretty much like all the Department of Defense runs on Windows. Nothing runs on a Mac like that actually runs real businesses. But
the assumption being that the only other OS is Mac. But yeah.
I mean, okay, you go to a server farm or something, it's all running Linux or something. But you go to like an office building, like in the FBI or something, they're all running Windows PCs or something. So.
You spend much time with the FBI, do you?
No, I'm just saying. I was in the Air Force. It was Windows everywhere, and it's something that I could picture Microsoft doing because they have such a big market in that it wouldn't hurt them that much if they just kind of like cut out all the gamers from being able to like play whatever they want or install it however they want on their PCs, and would have to go through the Windows Store. I guess that kind of frightens me, but when I look at like how big Windows PC gaming is in comparison to other operating system gaming, then it doesn't make sense for them to do it.
It could. I mean, these are the kind of things though that spawn those revolutions. Those like it could be the Linux age or something. Like if they do something like this, people will go where they can be free in a lot of respects. So. If
I'm sure Gaben would love that if it was the Linux age.
Power users, nobody knows how to install Linux unless you know how to use a computer.
I get what you're saying. I'm not talking about now. I'm talking about how it could shape the future. I understand the idea is that there'd be more power users that would create more user-friendly things that would make Linux an operating system that can actually be accessible to everybody, and something that you don't have to feel, weird about, the point of entry and stuff like that. And then gaming could thrive there, and Microsoft can go fuck themselves.
So I guess I'll just go play on my Xbox 3 or my Xbox One instead now. Oh wait, that's Windows 10 also, and it's going to be
that's kind of the root behind the UWP, which is like the Universal Windows Platform, which is the way that they're trying to bring their consoles and the PC platform together, right?
Yes.
So UWP is basically just a bunch of extra code, not a bunch, but like stuff that people like Windows or PC developers can add to their development cycle to just basically make it like, we're developing for Xbox One, but now with UWP we can port it to
automatically
PC.
Both, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it works on phones, it works on whatever, tablets, Surface.
Right.
So this is the devil's advocate argument. So let's go the other direction with this, because Microsoft is saying that the reasons for doing this, and if you look at it through this light, is a positive thing. It makes less work for the developers to be able to make something that they can put on the Xbox One console and on a Windows PC without having to write two separate frameworks that support the two different, hardware sets, basically. That's the purpose of UWP, according to Microsoft. So do you think Sweeney is just kind of stepping in and just seeing that they like trying to read between the lines and think that there's more to it, but in reality they're doing this for a really good reason to make it easier for us to make games for people?
I wanted to throw one thing out contextually speaking. Like this op-ed came in the wake of the big Windows 10 press conference where Phil Spencer was out front being like, here's what we're like trying to do. And Windows, specifically Windows 10, has been all about obviously being a new OS and an upgrade. That's why we skipped 9 to get to the new one so that everything is cool and blah, blah, blah. But what they're trying to do is bring back an OS that works for PC gamers specifically. And Windows has not done a great job doing that recently. And I would say the past 5 years or so. But what Microsoft is very focused on, and Phil Spencer is very focused on, when it's not Xbox One, it's about PC gaming and creating a viable, sustainable market or at least market share for themselves in this place. So, that being said, I don't want to sit here and call out Phil Spencer for being wrong, but like, let's understand that Tim Sweeney's kind of just being like, he did have that back-ended kind of comment / compliment / dig, where it's like, Windows has listened to us as one of the purveyors of PC, software and stuff, that they've taken all of our complaints and all of our thing into consideration, but it clearly didn't make a difference because now here we are.
That's what. Okay, I think the focus of this is a little bit. I don't know. Like, it's tough. It's tough. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of technical fucking jargon going on here, but there's also a lot of understanding. The way you were describing it and what Phil Spencer's saying is like, oh, Windows 10 is trying to like capitalize on PC gaming and stuff, but PC gaming, like, it's kind of niche a little bit, but it's very prevalent in like games like World of Warcraft or something. There's plenty of people that play games on PCs, but it is not the main seller. Like, that's not where they're making their money on PC gamers. They're making their money by selling to large companies and like selling their software upgrades and everything.
Right.
Like this. That's why it scares me, because they could just then decide to flip a switch and say, oh, nobody else can install it, but because they're not going to lose that much of a market share, because they still have all those like companies in Asia still installing Windows on their machines, and that's where they're getting their money. And it's like, it's not like there's a big focus here on like, oh, this is going to really affect PC gaming, but the way, like, to make the argument that people are going to stop playing PC games on the PC if it's a Windows based, if it's all if Windows says, oh, you can only play through the Windows Store or on the Xbox or anything, is, I don't know. It's not. I don't know. Like, it scares me a little bit, because they could just stop people from playing other games or like being able to access their API and stuff. But I do feel like it's not something they're gonna do. I feel like it's just kind of like, okay, now they have too much power. Is there something we should do about this? Is what the Epic guy was trying to say.
I think Tim is trying to get out in front of. I think he's kind of looking like 10 steps ahead, and he's a little bit. He's extrapolating kind of like a very dire outcome. And I'm not saying he's necessarily wrong. What I'm saying is, like, I think he's like, Microsoft is not necessarily at the, like, when you look at the UWP features now, they're pretty like minimal, in the sense that like there's nothing here that's really going to like affect the way that the marketplace is shaped or the way that we develop games. You know what I mean? All it's doing right now is helping Xbox One focused games be like portable to PC. Great. On paper, sure, but what he's worried about is because of like the whole update process that goes through Windows 10, and because it's automatic, that they have the control and the ability to kind of like lock people out, or based on the way that they set up their features. Now, and he goes on at length to kind of explain, if you want to go in and kind of brute force to like turn like things off in Windows right now, like Skype, for instance, it's kind of a pain in the fucking ass.
I don't even have Skype installed, and I'm still receiving phone calls on my computer.
Yeah.
Like, what is this?
It's magic.
So it's possible, but he can't do it. And this is kind of what he's alluding to, is that, like, it gives them kind of like a weird extra amount of abilities to kind of control the way they handle things. And when you're balancing that against other marketplaces like Steam and like GOG or Green Man Gaming, you still need like a workable OS to do it, and Windows is still kind of like the dominating one, at least when it comes to PCs right now. So
I see this as a preemptive strike by Sweeney, knowing
exactly.
that it might shape the way Microsoft behaves moving forward, not that he thinks that it's already at a point where it's there.
Yes,
it's more like he's been in the midst of the discussions directly with Microsoft, as he said, while they were being really thoughtful about his input and everyone else's input, all the big players, and how that this would roll out. And then he saw it roll out, and he's like, this is actually kind of indicative of something to come that's the opposite of what we were kind of giving them feedback on. So if I step out now and do an op-ed about this now, because people do care about my voice, maybe it'll make Microsoft think twice about how they proceed. Not necessarily we are already in a dire situation where everything's going to go to shit because they rolled out this UWP.
Well, unfortunately, at the end of the article, he kind of makes the point of like, yes, I made a bunch of, like, they've listened to us and like heard of all of our complaints, but they didn't seem to make a difference, at least from our standpoint. You know what I mean? And I'm a little... so we actually referenced 2 articles for this. A, the Guardian article, the op-ed itself, and then B, an article from Motherboard, the offshoot of Vice, that talks about kind of breaking it down and putting a lot of this stuff in layman's terms, because it's a lot of technically heavy conversation here. But the Motherboard article wrapped it up with, while all of this may seem dense, deeply nerdy, and only of interest to people who spend their free time tinkering with INI files, the broader point that Sweeney makes, and that Valve boss Gabe Newell made in 2012 with the launch of Windows 8, is the critical importance of the PC remaining an open platform. And I think that's the best way to sum all this up. He did a good job with that, in the sense that I think part of what Tim Sweeney's afraid of, to kind of complement what you were just saying, Joe, is that he's afraid that by doing this, that they're kind of closing off portions of the platform, especially for gaming, and God knows what else. You know what I mean? If what he's afraid of actually comes to fruition. So...
Right, so speak out now.
Right,
make Microsoft shaking their boots
that he's trying to get ahead of it. You know what I mean? And just be like, hey, maybe we should all keep an eye on this, because if this is actually the way that they're going, and I hope it isn't, but if it is, then this is bad. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Hence Sweeney's remarks saying, "quote Microsoft's intentions must be judged by their actions and not by their words." And I think that's.
You can insert any company's name at that point, a large corporation, and that rings true.
Or any politician.
Sure,
or any,
sure. But it still rings true, and he's not wrong in that regard.
Or your boss at your retail job, or your
is he overreacting?
Best friend.
Is Sweeney overreacting?
No, I don't think because of what I had just said.
Right.
I don't think that it's an overreaction. I think it's a preemptive reaction with a purpose, with an understanding that it might actually incite some different behavior out of the company. And I think that that's necessary. If it wasn't. If I wasn't looking at it from that angle, then it would certainly seem like he's overreacting. But I don't think that's the case. I think he's a smart guy, and I think he knows what his voice holds. I think you know what kind of power it has when he speaks out.
Well, and I think it's Tim fucking Sweeney. Like, this guy's up there with like the best of them. You know what I mean? He's on the same level with guys like Spencer or obviously Cliffy or as a designer and as a programmer, as all of it. You know what I mean? Like the guy knows what he's fucking talking about, and if it's literally that kind of a concern for him, then maybe it's worth paying attention to. Like, maybe it's unfair to say that this is what Microsoft is actually doing, because we don't know that for sure. But I think you're right. As a preemptive comment, it's worth considering and hoping that's the direction they do not go. If you're Microsoft, anyway. So, next on the docket, everybody, let's talk about E3. Remember when we went to E3? It's where this podcast was born. Remember that? Yeah. Way back, it was right before the new console generation.
That made E3 so exciting.
Yeah, we were there for when they're revealing all this stuff.
That's right.
It was fun.
We need some like wistful music in the background right now, or at least like the Wayne's World, like. Anyway, for this particular topic, we're sourcing Dean Takahashi's ongoing story, covering some interesting developments surrounding the annual E3 Game Expo. Since January, big game companies like EA, Activision, Disney, Wargaming, they're all abandoning their booths at E3. While some have certain events still happening on site, whether they be press events or even like a presence on the floor, it's nowhere near, I think, kind of what we saw a few years ago. There's a lot to consider on why this might be the case, but let's see if we can make some sense of why the biggest gaming expo in the U.S. is hemorrhaging some of the biggest companies in the industry. Rich Taylor was a source for one of the articles that Dean Takahashi wrote. He's the senior vice president of communications at the ESA, who are the guys who put on E3 in general. He gave a pretty not overbearingly, I would say, but just like general diplomatic response in an interview to address some of the concerns. Because, I mean, let's face it, like when you see companies like this drop out of the biggest video game expo, it might strike some fear into the hearts of either, expo goers or other companies who are being like,
maybe less people will go and then we could go and actually have a good time.
Expos are tough. I get it in that regard. But I mean, when these companies drop out, like they either have like substantial cause, whether it be financially or otherwise, or maybe they know something that we don't. And that to me sounds like maybe closer to what's going on here. But you know, he mentions that individual companies will make their own choices each year, and this is not the first time that EA's dropped out. Like, they dropped back down, you know, opt out in like 07 or 08, I think.
Yeah.
And they saw like a huge downturn in their attendance because of it. But they've obviously kind of like rebounded. Obviously, EA came back for a little while. That they're still doing their press conferences, and EA still plans on doing one this year. But they're also going to do like an off-site fan event. But we're seeing more and more of this. We saw this even when we went to E3 3 years ago, where like, you know, not Oculus, but when the Ouya was still kind of like,
and
we're not sure
they were off-site,
but like right across the street, right? And we've seen Nintendo like not like they have a presence on the E3. But it's more of like off-site, and you know, their Nintendo Directs and their videos become more of the issue and less about being on the floor. But like when you have companies like Wargaming, when you have Disney, we're talking about, you know, Activision Blizzard and EA, like not necessarily Microsoft or Xbox or PlayStation, but these are huge publishers. These are huge like games, and like these guys take up like, you know, a vast amount of space on the show floor. So, A, what replaces it? B, is that less of a draw for people that want to go to E3, or like what the fuck is happening?
I think I want to go back a little bit. I do think it's maybe less of a draw for people to want to go, but I don't think that's a big deal. And I think that's what Rich Taylor was trying to say in his interview. And it's like you said, he gave very diplomatic responses, like, "Oh, you know,
it's his job to do so."
Yeah, it's like it's not a big deal. It's like E3 is going to continue to evolve and going to keep bringing people in. He said that normal stuff, but in this case, I completely agree with them. Like, things are like the way people are trying to like get this information out in like these companies. They want to like give it out to the press, and they want to find new ways to get their games out, get their technology out for people to see. And maybe what they're finding is the show floor is not the best way to do it. Like, oh, it's like this huge floor for like press and video game people. They can go see it when they can just get that information online, or they can get that information in like press conferences instead. Mm-hmm. And these companies, I think, are finding that that's much more effective, and E3 is going to have to evolve a little bit. And he even says like E3 is evolving every year, and it's like the past few years have been some of the best they've ever had. And I don't see this as a bad thing. I think it may hit their attendance a little bit, but at the
even
end,
if it does, like the assumption is that it'll bounce back based on the way it evolves.
They'll bounce back. It'll come back
evolve
maybe differently,
sure.
Even, and it'll still be E3 in a different way, but it'll still
be E3 to some degree.
Yeah. Okay. And I'd still go. It'll still be fun. I want to go this year, even if these companies aren't going to be there.
I really think that a lot of the large conventions like E3, PAX, and GDC, they're actually these industry timestamps. It's probably the best way that I can think of it right now, where it's not about the actual convention at all anymore. It's about a date that the general public around the entire world it recognizes as something where they're likely to see information from their favorite companies to come out.
Yep.
And usually it's through a press conference that is live streamed to your computer right away, or one in which they release on the week of E3 to your like new trailers that you haven't seen before. And I think that these companies understand a lot that the buzzword that is E3 and that is PAX and that is GDC are exactly that. They're buzzwords to gain attention from everyone around the world, and that the show floor itself is a completely chaotic, hectic, crazy, insane thing that does not probably gain them anything off the people walking by their booth over the people.
Cost them tons of money to
maybe, but maybe not. And here's the thing, like, and this is kind of the point where this is one of the better points I think that Rich Taylor made, and this is and that Takahashi kind of like related to, is that these events are central kind of locations for all these like billions of social media impressions to happen. So whether or not we have online and streaming press events or otherwise, like you said, we're still getting a bunch of like news and information kind of streaming out over this 3 to 5 day process, depending on which conference you're talking about. And Taylor kind of like latches onto the idea, and probably correctly so, that like that's what makes these events relevant, is that this, like, you need that core centralized kind of location where it's all happening. Even if we have offsite events or press conferences, like, you still need to have something that kind of still like has the brand, has the badge, has the location that kind of like encompasses all of it, right? So like when I see a tweet of something about a certain game, it's not just some random tweet because there's a hashtag E3 reveal or something, hashtag on it, and that that, it makes everything relevant, right? So is he right in the sense that, like, whatever E3 evolves into, still having that kind of umbrella of a centralized weekend or week to kind of like keep it all together. Is that still necessary?
I don't think it's necessary anymore.
Really?
I think
E3 whole hog here.
I think E3 is going to have to evolve, and same with like PAX and these other conventions. They're going to have to change the way they're doing it because the show floor doesn't make sense anymore.
No, it doesn't. But there's sorry, as someone who goes almost every year to
PAX, definitely
at least here, PAX, but have been to other conventions as well. It doesn't.
There's a drastic difference, but there's
doesn't work.
No,
GDC aside,
what was really cool about E3 was that. Oh, for like 1 week of the year, I get to watch on G4 all this new video game information.
Okay.
And now I can just like log on any like website, read anything I want, watch TV and see like video game commercials. And I don't need that information. I don't need it all centralized on
to go 3 days
1 week.
Hoofing it around.
It's not Discovery Channel Shark Week anymore. Like I don't need. It's like I can watch all the sharks I want. Yeah. Like I could just go on the internet and read about sharks. And
wait, every week is Shark Week?
Yeah. So E3 was really cool, especially like 10 years ago when we didn't have access to that kind of information about video games. It was a way
we felt
for
privileged
the press,
when we got it.
It's like, oh, this is 1 week dedicated video games. Now it's like your entire year is dedicated video games if you want it to be. And the show floor doesn't make sense because it's just these companies spending a ridiculous amount of money on press that isn't necessary because people are already looking up information on their games on the internet.
I like the gathering of people with like-minded interests. That's always just, no matter what your cup of tea is in this world.
Right, it's still a community.
It's always a great opportunity to meet with community and know that everybody around you shares similar interests. And this might be indicative of our age, unfortunately, because take a 15, 16-year-old and tell them that E3 is not worth their time, and they'll
kick you in the shins or something. Exactly.
So that's kind of a hard thing to. I don't know. Maybe it's a hard pill to swallow. I don't know. Maybe it's just a maturity thing.
I'm actually finding it a bit hard to swallow too because I feel like expos in general. Oh, sorry. Finish your thought first. Go ahead.
Okay, well, an expo to me is an opportunity to get together with like-minded individuals and share in the community some type of fun. And generally, the most fun I have at expos is just going and doing something in the area, knowing that I'm near people who are also
right, because that enthusiasm and stuff is contagious.
It's not the show floor. It's not the actual floor. I can walk that shit in a couple hours and be out and never go back in and enjoy the rest of my weekend at the local bars that are close by and know that
the people around me probably are doing the same thing I am.
Exactly.
Well,
it just feels weirdly comfortable.
When we went to E3 back in, I don't know, 2013 or something. What do you remember about it?
Sitting at Tap House and drinking beers,
and like thinking up ideas for this podcast. Also,
well, absolutely. But at the same time, I also remember talking to like the Payday 2 guys, and I remember talking to.
They weren't even inside.
Or like going to the Nintendo booth and playing.
They were outside
and playing like we played fucking Rayman on the Wii U, and like that was dope. Like
which is a game that we didn't have to wait in line for, which is why we played it. And I already knew I liked the Rayman series, so it didn't introduce me to anything new.
We did wait for like 2 hours in line to see the Stick of Truth demo, and we were not disappointed. So
did we wait 2 hours? I don't even remember.
It wasn't that long.
We waited a little bit. We waited a little bit. It was the only thing we waited for.
We were very editorial in what we were doing, but I agree with you in the sense of this. But there's a striking difference between things like PAX and E3, where PAX is open to the public. And E3 is not.
E3 is open to the public if you pay money. Like it's
E3 is open to the public.
Taylor does say that, like, we do give out tickets to some booth holders that they can give out to their people.
It's so ridiculously open to the public.
You just pay money. Okay, it's open to you now.
But you paid me. Okay, so yes, there might be some like gray area there, but not in the same way. Like there's a very distinct thing. Like the cool thing about E3 is that when we saw it, like I forget which hotel it was. It was like literally kitty corner to the we were sitting in the hall and then like there's a bunch of Nintendo people, and then there's like the guy who did Alan Wake and is doing Quantum Break right now, like walking by us. Like we're like sitting there in this thing, like drinking coffee.
So you're agreeing with me. The thing that was most intriguing about it is that around the area you get to
but constantly... you still needed to be in that area
in order for it to happen. Okay, I get that.
I am agreeing with you, but there's still kind of like there's
a gathering.
I'm agreeing with Rich Taylor in the sense that maybe there's still a relevance to the fact of having like a central location where this stuff needs to happen. I'm not saying that he's right. I'm just saying that maybe there's something to it.
I agree.
There might be, but I mean, just living here in Seattle, I feel like I'm in a central location. Like, we had lunch with the ARC devs the other day or something, and
yeah, we can't go, and actually, you can't go anywhere in Seattle in between the hours of 11:30 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. without hearing somebody in the booth next to you talking about
it's
the latest push they made to their repo.
I can't go to a bar and be like, I'm a video game designer as a pickup line.
Right.
It's not.
Isn't that exciting?
Not gonna work.
Like, oh yeah, you two stand in line over there.
And so's he, and so's he.
Go stand in the corner with the rest of the neckbeards. Yeah, no, I'm joking, obviously, but yes, it doesn't have the same kind of charm per se as if you like, oh, I'm a punk musician and I'm standing in a rundown like Brooklyn bar or something. Like, yeah. Great, go stand in go stand in the corner with the rest of the wannabe Johnny Rottens. You know
that
what I mean?
guy's mohawk is taller than yours.
Yeah, exactly. So okay, fine. So, but is there a way that E3 can adapt? I'm not saying we have to answer this question, but is E3 irrelevant, or is there a way that they can kind of come around?
I don't think E3 is irrelevant. I think the show floor is kind of weird.
Make the show floor VR.
I think
everybody do it from home.
Open the show floor to like indie devs or something. Like, just have it full of indie developer game booths or something.
That's not bad. I mean, we've seen a lot of success with PAX, specifically with like indie mega booths and stuff like that. Like that. Honestly, I feel like, and we've said it before many times in the show, that the indie mega booths at PAX is one of the best parts of that show.
It absolutely is.
Those are the best games. The big companies know that people are going to play their games. Like, I don't need to let like 30,000 people into the show floor to let them play my game so that I can convince them to play my game, or they'll have them tell other people to convince them to play my game. People are going to play their game no matter what. People are going to play Assassin's Creed 6 or something. And
Assassin's Creed 17, probably.
Yeah, sure. They're going to play it no matter what. So why would these companies spend money on the show floor when it's not going to gain them that much? They're spending like millions of dollars on these things.
Well, that becomes kind of the question too. Like, are people bailing out because of the prices of booth, like real estate or whatever? Or are they not just getting like seeing the returns?
No, I think it's the return, not the
marketing.
price.
From a marketing standpoint,
these are people these are multi-million-dollar companies.
Sure.
It's definitely not the money that they're concerned about.
Some of the booth like setups, man.
I heard that
it's epic.
Pretty expensive.
They are, but I mean, it's return on investment. At the end of the day, if you see that it's not going to make a difference because everyone is going to buy your damn game, and all you have to do, like you said, is hashtag E3 reveals for Ubisoft, and now they don't even have to have a booth because the people at the show floor, there aren't enough of them to dictate whether or not the sales go a certain direction. It's all the people around the world that just know that it's E3 week and that a lot of new shit is going to be announced, and so they do it. But what if there was no E3? Then how do they get away with that?
Then what?
Yeah,
it's just PAX, and then it gets busier than it already.
Yeah, but
there's no PAX. I'm saying none of that.
If there were no conventions for these things, would our industry really change that much? Like,
I would like to think that they would come up with dates on their own that weren't centered around an event, but just were like President's Day, or there's it's video game reveal day, and everybody just knows it, and that's
one day a year.
Yeah, you just
like
know.
A delusion information. Everybody's head explodes. And,
so it's like if most games come out during the Christmas season, then most reveals happen during the summer. So there's always like July 9th is like video game reveal day, and everybody's excited to crowd around their computer to find out who's gonna say what today. And that would probably accomplish the same thing if all those show floors closed down and it stopped happening.
All right.
I'd be sad, but...
So, yes.
There was something to be said. Like, I think as much as I look forward to conferences the expos and stuff every year, like, I also at the same time, I think about how I feel after it's done. And I usually, I think everybody that knows and has done it enough times... Like, those things they're fucking like marathons.
It's like when you get to Disney World and there's Epcot Center and you buy the tickets for both because you're like, oh, I'm gonna have time.
Right? It was a deal. I got it like $20 cheaper because I bought the bundle pack. It's great.
You're like, my dogs are barking.
Yeah, fucking A. All right. So it's not a big deal, right? That all these companies aren't like, we can't play, the new Star Wars Infinity at E3 this year. Like, can't do that. Or
is this
Infinity,
a big deal? Like, our industry's in a down spiral because nobody's going to E3?
No, I'm not even going to be that hyperbolic about it. I'm just saying, like, is it indicative of a trend though? Like, because everybody's streaming shit online and everything else? Like, is that why people are just dropping out? Like, everybody else understands what Nintendo figured out like 5 years ago.
If anything, it's starting to slow down because it's so it's getting more and more popular, gaming as a whole. Mm-hmm. The idea of the conference slowing down is because gaming
one
as
venue
a whole is
for 50,000 people isn't big enough anymore, effectively.
It's not lucrative enough for the people who are paying that much for booths, because 50,000 people walking by your booth and not willing to wait in line for 3 hours to see your game is not going to increase your sales anymore, because there's a much, much larger market for people who are potentially gamers. And now that number percentage wise, like we're looking at per capita, it's like it's not worth my time.
Okay.
It used to be, right? When the gaming culture was so small and tight-knit,
I think you were onto something, though, Nick. Like, maybe these expos became something more about indie games and stuff like that.
I think if they did, it'd be kind of really cool. It'd be like this
make it affordable for these guys to come in and do it, like show off their stuff.
Games out. They'd pay for the expo pretty much still. You could fit a lot more in there without those giant Microsoft booths.
End up looking like a fucking like a flea market. It's just a bunch of like fold-out tables in the basement of a church somewhere. A bunch of empty games like laid out. You know what I mean? Like some laptops.
It's got to start small.
That's it. Absolutely.
I think it's a good idea. I don't see it being practical at all. Like managing that many indie game studios that don't even know how to handle these kind of things. Probably.
Yeah. At least we're not like on a marketing level or otherwise. But the expectation of having them be as big as like an Xbox booth or something is
bring your own table.
No, I'm not saying them. I'm not saying them being that big. But think of how big that hall was, or like the multiple. There were like 3 of them when we were there.
Yeah.
And try to imagine as many indie game studios as you can in there, and it's a huge number of them. Like if they just had booths the size of the ones they had at PAX, you could fit like all of them in there, I feel like. And at least all the ones that even know how to like coordinate that kind of information. Like there's probably tons of indie studios out there that don't have the manpower to actually put that kind of stuff together, to put a booth together, to put like some kind of presentation.
Yeah, think about the work that the Distance guys did for their indie mega booth and that kind of now imagine half the indie developers having that type of it's almost like it's more overload than the big booths are almost at that point, because like literally instead of every 50 feet you're in the same booth at least and it's different games, but every 5 feet now it takes a lot of drive, a lot of effort, and a lot of your own money out of your own pockets to do some cool like booth stuff when you're an indie developer. But that's why I think it would be better to do a conference that's just indie devs that has a format where all the booths aren't allowed to look different. They're just allowed to let you play their game.
You mean like IGF for that matter? I mean, it's just GDC effectively. But,
I guess in a way, yeah.
But
yeah, sort of like you said, in an old church with just fold out tables,
straight up like Shriners, like handing out flyers to everybody. And
you have exactly the square footage, and you put the computer here. In fact, we'll just put it there for you. Don't fucking worry about it. And then here,
and then you got to ask: is that even going to be worth it though for them? Like, are they going to get any new plays out of like people coming to buy their games out of the super saturated?
It's a realistic question.
The super saturated room of indie devs, like. It's a room full of 1,000 games, and which one are you going to buy because you went to E3?
You know the worst part about that is that's a room full of 1,000 games whose developers probably ruined parts of their lives to make it possible.
Yes. Yeah.
And now they put their blood, sweat, and tears, like they destroyed their emotional fabric of being
to some degree,
and then they roll up like, oh, this is the day, and then there's 1,000 other people that did the same thing, and everybody's broken like that scene and tattered
from the indie game movie where Phil Fish is like getting Fez ready to show at PAX East, and like, you know, for like a half a second shit's not working, and you literally feel his pain, like how fucking disastrous this is about to be, but then it gets up and running. But like that whole like you literally watch him crumble for 5 seconds before everything kind of like thankfully works. But.
Yeah, hero's journey. and then you quit gaming. That's the end of the hero's journey.
That's the elixir.
That's another conversation altogether. All right, that was pretty good work, everybody. Let's move on to the last one here. Riley McLeod published a piece for Kotaku asking a very general question. Why do I like the games I like? Or more specifically, why do I think certain games or platforms are good? He goes on to describe a presentation at the NYU Game Center that led him to ask these questions, and he relates a bit of personal history regarding his relationship with games to kind of offer some context. You should all go read it. It's an honest piece, and one that comes with an inevitable bit of bias that comes when you ask questions like this. So I'm curious, fellas, why do you like the games that you like? Don't answer it now. Let's get into it a little bit. He goes into
Wait, we're not supposed to answer the question you asked us?
Not yet. I just thought that this, for listeners' sake, I just thought this was kind of an interesting piece because it gives us a more general topic. It's not, this guy said this about something and it's crazy, and it's not, here's a bunch of problems or whatever. But this actually, I think, kind of speaks very much to the heart of why we even do this podcast a little bit, because I think we all like games and we have chosen it as our careers.
I don't think Nick likes games.
Games are okay.
Nick doesn't like anything. It's fine. But it made me stop and reflect and be like, I don't know, why is it that I like the games that I like, or whatever? Like, what are the situations or circumstances that I grew up with or that have affected me in my life to kind of lead me in a direction that makes me think that the games I like are good versus ones that are maybe genres that I don't play all that often, and therefore I'm like, yeah, I don't give a fuck about that. You know what I mean? So I'm genuinely curious, gentlemen, if there's a game you can think of right now. Like Joe, I think when I think of you, for some reason, I think Uncharted a lot.
Okay.
I think that's a game that you've referenced a lot and talk about. I mean,
shut up about it.
I think to some degree, there's when we all went to school together, right? And even in those early days, that was something that you talked about a lot and referenced in career aspirations or whatever, to be a Naughty Dog or whatever. But why Uncharted?
Why Uncharted?
Or tell me that I'm wrong and Uncharted isn't the thing that you like the most.
I can answer it for him.
Oh, I like that.
Okay, so Nick, answer for Joe.
Because they do it better than everybody else.
No, that's
so general questions yielding general answers, I suppose. But
oh my God, that's silly. Nick, how much TV do I watch?
3.
Okay, well, out of all the 3 TV that I watch, I'm a sucker for entertainment, and I grew up with my family watching movies to no end, to the point where our fun in the car on long road trips with my family was not let's play the alphabet game, it's let's play the movie quote game. You think of a movie quote, you deliver it best you can, obscure or whatever, and we try and figure out what movie it's from. That's the kind of shit we did. And we watched a bunch of TV, and then with this influx of the way TV shows have been developing into movies, almost better at telling stories now. You get sucked into these characters, and this is in the last maybe 5 years, and I've been hooked on those equally as such. And so when games, that was such a turning point with games for me, was when games were able to tell stories in the same way or capable of capturing me in a similar manner. And Uncharted was one of the first ones to be able to seamlessly travel between you having control of the character and you not, in very small bits, not like Metal Gear Solid bits where you could put the fucking controller down and go take a shit.
Not even bits,
and come back in.
Metal Gear Solid, yeah.
It was more like you never knew when it was just going to be like a moment of cinematic that was 2 seconds long, enough for you to just keep feeling like you're in the movie. And that's why I loved it. And I know a lot of people hate that about it, and that's why this topic is so interesting to me. Because why do I like that, and why do you hate it, listener who hates it?
Feel free to answer on your own in the comment section. So,
usually the people who hate games like Uncharted that I love so much is for the same reason why I love it. Because they think games are games and movies are movies, and when you try and mix them too much, you're taking away my ability to play it like a game.
I think that's one of maybe a plethora of reasons. A plethora, if you will.
don't say plethora.
Shout out Chris Morris. Okay, Nick.
Hey.
So when I think of you, I think of Eve. And so I don't mean to be pigeonholing anybody here to a certain thing, but brass tacks, just being honest. So, but what is it about Eve that you like so much, and why do you think that is?
I liked it because I guess when you lose things, it's meaningful because you spent your time doing it, as opposed to
So you rely on the loss to give you meaning?
Well, things don't have meaning if you can't lose it.
That was fucking profound.
Things don't have meaning if you can't lose it. There's no meaning behind all like if everybody is privy to it, that guaranteed it, then it's not meaningful. Like, it's not special. You're not special if you don't stand up.
You're borderline hipster talk here.
Wait,
borderline
to
hipster
be clear,
talk.
Though, you're talking about the difference between my character lost something because it's a part of the story that's going to happen no matter what, versus me losing
I lost something because I spent 50 hours trying to get it.
No, again, okay, so you're agreeing with me. I'm saying you're saying
you said
that
my character.
No, I know, okay. And I'm saying you oppose the idea that for me, like in Uncharted, if the character loses something, that does not have the same meaning to you because it's supposed to happen. It's bound by the story.
I mean, if it's a story, and I love stories also. Like I think this is why I would argue that I like movies or TV shows better than video games, because I like watching stories. So watching you play Uncharted is entertaining for me, because I'm watching a story and
you're watching it like a TV show. You're not interacting with it. You're watching somebody else interact with it.
Yeah, not necessarily.
But playing it
would probably be pretty similar in a way.
Oh, okay.
But I guess the games that I've been playing mostly lately have been ones where I've spent lots of time.
But you create your own story.
You create your own story. You create I think one of the ways I described, what was it? The space game that I was playing.
Space Engineers?
No, it was the one
where each person has their own role on the ship.
Nope, it wasn't even that. It was Jesus the one. Christ. It was the one where we watched with the Interstellar music, and the guy was in VR, and it was Horizons.
Fuck.
Elite Dangerous.
Elite Dangerous.
Elite Dangerous.
Oh, that. Oh,
yeah.
God.
Horizons is the expansion pack. I think so. Right. That game, the way they described it was like, oh, you come back to work and you're like, you go to the water cooler with other people who played it, and you have a story to tell about it because they didn't. It's not narrated or anything.
Everybody's experience is different.
Every day experience is different. EVE Online's the same way. I've been playing a lot of Ark, and it's the same there. It's like, people rated us. We lost all our dinosaurs last night. This guy was an idiot, and we have like this like story. We can drink about it. We can talk about it, and just have like, oh, haha, memories in the past about this kind of thing. It's like, do you remember when we were pirates and we screwed that guy and he quit the game? And it's like, or you remember that time in PvP where like you almost like lost your ship and like all this adrenaline's going through you because you're going to lose this thing that you spent hours working on. Like that's fun because you can't experience that in real life without being in like some.
That's fun to you. That's fun to you specifically.
Yeah, but
and other players too. But
it is fun to specific.
But it's a specific type of fun.
Yeah, but it's addictive once you're trying to go in because getting that kind of adrenaline rush is addictive for anybody, I believe.
It is.
So I feel like I can't say it, but I feel like if other people experience that in this kind of scenario that I had or something, they would like that also. But you can also recognize that that's addictive, and you may not want to spend your time playing
which
that.
Which is enter me not getting involved in those kind of games because
you play something that's scripted. Right. You play Uncharted because it's already set out for you. You just go in expecting to have like a very, I don't want to call it linear or put it in certain constraints.
It's linear. It's absolutely linear.
But you understand what I'm saying? Is that like it's a story that's going to like start one way and end a very specific way. Yeah. It's not going to end in a different way because I play it differently than others. As opposed to Eve, which is holy shit.
It's my story. It's not anybody else's story but mine. I went through the game. We
even if you do the exact same actions as another person, they're still playing out in different ways.
Yeah, completely. Like we befriended some guy in this wormhole, and we turned his court mates against him, and we performed a coup, and we took everything in there, and now we kicked him out, and he hated us, and his friend hated us, and we
sounds like Eve.
We made tons of money, I don't know. It's my story. That's my story. That's nobody else's. Nobody else experienced that. It wasn't scripted.
Nick enjoys the thrill of fucking over a real person.
It's not that. It's the fact that like I can tell you.
But it's not a real person, really. It's a real person playing another character.
Yeah, and
that's a real person because he just said the benefit of the game is that you have that adrenaline rush, understanding that you might lose the thing that you spent hours and you took away the thing that guy spent hours making, and you probably had the same adrenaline rush.
He did too, and he's like, I'm gonna play this again because it's so great because I lost everything. No, but some people quit.
It's the Wild fucking West.
Well, in a way, it's like it's nothing scripted. It's just it's fun. Like it's just like it's a sandbox game.
Well, but you feel like you're in control as opposed to the game being in control.
But why? But why that instead of what I like? Why do you like that?
Like I like those kinds of, like I think
like watching them though.
No, we've had that conversation before where I think Metal Gear Solid, the one on the PlayStation, was like one of the best games, or the game that like PS1 really convinced me that games were the greatest, I guess. Because it was maybe the first one that I heard voice acted. I'm not sure if that's true, but it's one of the first ones that was completely voice acted.
Before. Yeah. Okay.
And I played those kind of games all the time. I used to play Final Fantasy. I played like single player RPG games, and they were great. I loved them. They had terrific stories, and they are part of my past. But now I can make my own story. And like this is me, I guess, role playing who I would be if like this situation. Not necessarily because there's no consequence if for me. So
you haven't given your personal.
All right. Well, I'll give mine, but then I have a follow up question to all of us here, kind of as like a round table, but. I guess the way I'll answer it is kind of like leading into the second question. But what I'm finding, I like all sorts of games. I like sports games. I like RPGs. I like adventure games like Uncharted, sure. And I balk maybe a little bit when it comes to like really huge and overwhelming games, kind of like Eve to a certain degree. But you could probably say the same thing maybe about Minecraft or something like that. And I played it for the sake of playing it because I felt like this is important. And I needed to do it. And I enjoyed it, but not enough to keep coming back or like listed in my top 10 or anything like that. When I look at games right now, and maybe this is because I'm playing a lot of XCOM 2 lately, but I think based on a lot of conversations we've had on the show, I think it's very, like I like a lot of turn-based games, I think, when it comes down to it. I like Civ 5. I think that's one of my favorite games of all time. I love XCOM. Holy fuck, I love XCOM. But I like that kind of stuff because I grew up playing board games and card games with my family and my friends. I played a lot of Dungeons and Dragons too with people and stuff. And that maybe that answers the RPG angle of the question too. But there's a certain amount of strategy, tactical stuff, all of that is involved in both things. But turn-based stuff right now is kind of like where I'm at. And as I get older, being able to take a few seconds to think about what it is that I'm doing.
He's not as quick anymore, everybody. My old bones.
Right. But and it's true. Like, I just find that stuff is more interesting to me. And so my question to follow up is what do you think the circumstances were in your life or growing up culturally, environmentally, or whatever that makes you more partial to stuff like Uncharted, Joe, or Eve, Nick?
Well, this is a little weird for me because, like, I guess I would almost say that I'm a little bit envious of you guys or Joe being able to just pick up a random like game and just play it for 30 hours and then be done with it. Like, I used to do that. I used to be really excited. I remember going and buying Halo 2 on day one release because I played the first one a whole ton with one of my friends and I was like, oh, I got to get this so I can play it again. I bought the copy, went immediately to work. I stared at the manual and then I was working and then I went home pretty much and started playing it. And
so you didn't do your job that day?
Not really, but I didn't I don't do that anymore, and I kind of miss that. Like, I wish I could just sample games and just play them and have some fun with it a little bit. But now, like I don't. It's hard because I feel like I have like a responsibility to play these games with other people, and I do enjoy doing that. But it's also kind of like it's work almost also to play.
So at the risk of going on a tangent, though, like that was an interesting statement. You feel a responsibility to play a game with other people?
Oh yeah, I guess so. Sometimes when you play a game like EVE Online,
people depend on you.
Or Ark. Sure. People depend on you because you've made plans or something. It's like, oh, I can't go watch the show tonight with Natalie or something because I have to do this because we planned on doing this, and if we don't do it right now, it's going to screw up everything and we're going to lose everything we have. And why play the game at all if we lose it?
Okay.
So it's weird, and like I enjoy that, but sometimes I wish I could just play other games also.
Do you feel like you guys are defined as gamers based on the stuff that you do like? Like, if you had to pick like a top three, like that would define you appropriately based on your gamer style?
No, not at all.
Not as a developer, but as like a
like if you asked me what my top three games were or something, and
that would be an accurate definition of you as a gamer.
Well, okay, that's true. It would be a definition of me as a gamer, but not a definition of what I like.
Right.
Those are two different questions.
No, fair enough. I mean, I'm just okay, but like one is kind of a segue into the other, and one is more specific, right? So if I asked you to, like, I'm not asking you to because it's a very difficult question, and now's not the time. But if you gave me your top three games, would that be?
It would define the archetype that is me as a gamer, but it would not define what I like.
Right.
I don't think that those are related, even a little bit.
I'm not saying that they are. I'm just saying that there's a transition
to answer your question, because I didn't actually answer it yet. Was just that mine's situational more than anything. Like I would.
But isn't everybody's?
No, I mean my choices in games is situational.
Okay.
It's not that I don't like the idea of MMOs. It's not that at all. It's that I know what my personality is like, and I understand how it would affect the rest of my life. And when I started school, it was like going into boot camp where I knew that, kiss your loved ones goodbye and shit. It wasn't the kind of place where I knew that I had the capabilities of playing games that I might like MMOs, because I knew that it would affect my life on the outside where I might get the opportunity to make this kind of shit. Mm-hmm. So too bad, so sad. Like I someday maybe I'll find a way to balance that, but until I do, I think that I'm okay with the idea that I can fall back on other games that I know that I also like that aren't going to take me.
So you're upset. You're a little sad that you can't play more games, and I'm a little You're a little upset that you can't play more games than I am, and I'm upset that I can't just enjoy games like you can.
When you said you were envious of me, I was like, that's ridiculous. I'm absolutely envious of your ability to have those responsibilities with real people and make your own story every day, because I don't get that.
And see, this is why I like movies and TV shows better, because there's no complications. Like I can just sit there and watch it. Like I don't know. I enjoy stories. You enjoy stories too, I think.
Yeah,
and
this was good, guys. Yeah. This is why. Sorry, this is why we started the podcast, man. Yeah. I don't know. These are the kind of conversations I like having.
That was weird and funny.
It was great
and kind of cute.
You'll always
turn based, man.
That was like that conversation where it's like, it's
revealing.
No, like you think your eyebrows are gross, but someone else is always like, I wish I had your eyebrows.
Oh, they're threaded. Okay, lightning round. In a second, we're gonna be right back. After this, we're gonna touch base on our contest stuff real quick. We'll be right back. Hey, you guys! Last week, we kept our giveaways program rolling by offering up a Stardew Valley Steam key. We're happy to announce this week's winner is Nicholas T. Congratulations! Enjoy some quality farming and fun on us, and thanks for listening. We'll be sending out that key soon, so keep your eyes on your email inbox. Thanks to everyone who played. Make sure to keep coming back. You're eligible each week. This week, we're offering up one Undertale Steam key. You've heard all about the game. All your friends have probably played it. And now it's your turn to meet Flowey the Flower. So be sure to check out cheatcodespodcast.com to see all the ways you can enter to win. Good luck, and remember, 1632 isn't a year. It's your top score in pole position. Welcome back, everybody. All right, panel. It's time for the lightning round. Here's how it works. We're going to take two quick topics and give each member of the panel a minute to chime in, uninterrupted for the most part. At the end of each minute, we will award the panelist a quantity of some type of points based on 0 things in particular. All right, topic the first. When asked by Shack News about VR support on Apple computers, Palmer Luckey commented that if they ever release a good computer, we will do it. He added that Apple doesn't prioritize gaming folks' GPUs like they used to, and said he'd be happy to do it if they made some hardware changes. For now, though, Apple remains sort of a non-player in the VR market as yet. So, does Apple need VR? Does Oculus need Apple? Is this just more fodder for the PC master race, or was Palmer just taking the piss out of Apple a bit? Mr. Golish, you get the first minute here, buddy.
All right, so I'm trying to think back to the last time I played a game on an Apple computer, and that may be Dinosaur Tycoon. I don't even know if it's Tycoon.
Great game.
Digging deep right now.
But I just remember like the one like there's like a shelves where you could like purchase eggs or something, and then you put them in your pens. And the only reason we had this was because I wanted to play it, and my dad's like, okay, I'll set up a stupid Mac computer for you to actually play it on. And that's the only that I played on it. And then I went back and I played like Duke Nukem, the side scroller one, on PC because PC Master Race. And does Apple care about video games? I don't really think so. They got tons of RAM and stuff, but that's for video editing and those artist people. But it's not really a big deal, I think, for Apple to really like support Oculus.
Okay. I will award you 2 gaming GPUs.
I want Matt. Give me Matt.
How much RAM?
How much RAM? And I don't know, 32 gigs of RAM. Is that enough? Is that too much? It's probably too much.
I don't know if that's enough for my video editing.
Sure. All right. Well done. I appreciate the trip down memory lane. That was good.
Yeah, dinosaurs, dude.
Makes a lot of sense. We were talking about previously, like it makes a lot of sense for Arc now, right? Like, doesn't it set that up kind of nicely?
Yeah, it does.
Thanks, Nick's dad. Mr. Arroyo, give me a minute.
I also distinctly remember playing a dinosaur game that I don't know the name of, but it was a third-person dinosaur game that you ran around in on the Macs. They were installed on the computers at the elementary schools that my mom worked at as a teacher, and I would visit it even after I didn't go there anymore, so I could play that stupid game, and I don't know why. But so at one point they had games on them, but they were mostly like to satisfy the urge of students who didn't have anything to do at that moment and had the computer at the school. In the meantime, Apple has dominated the market absolutely in music production, in art creation, Photoshop, video editing, everything that Nick already mentioned. And so they don't have any reason to be in a hurry to do anything to make Luckey happy. They definitely have the technology to handle that kind of crap. They're just not supporting it because it's not important to them right now.
I'm going to give you one of those Lucky Cat dolls that waves their arm and new like, well, because Lucky and Palmer Luckey, but it's like the waving arm white cat that just sits in the window.
Yeah, no, thank you.
It's kind of like a bobblehead.
I'll pass.
I know what you're talking about.
You can have it back. Don't.
Well,
want
they bring you good luck.
That's true.
Erskine.
All right, my minute. So here's the thing: we've seen companies like Apple's biggest competitor, is probably arguably Samsung right now, and Samsung has seemed to be like fully on board with at least the consumer lower end version with Gear, VR, and that kind of stuff, which is cool. And they seem to be kind of like open arms, and like you said, Joe, Apple seems to be kind of like, we'll see where it goes before we spend a bunch of money to figure out where it's going, and that makes more sense to me than anything. Like Palmer, like he says, you can spend $6,000 on a top end Apple PC, and it'll run anything you want it to, but it still won't run VR. Correct. But when it comes down to it, you still need to spend about $1,500 to get a regular PC to run VR in general. It's not a market that Oculus needs. So to answer the question, does Oculus need Apple? No, they don't. Does Apple need Oculus? Not really, because if Apple really wants VR, then they'll just go fucking do it themselves. Ultimately, right? And I think they're going to wait to see how the market plays out, and that's it.
You just tape your iPhone to your face.
Yeah, exactly. Erskine, I will award you 5 requests from the FBI to crack your iPhone.
Well done. That was good. All right. Topic second.
Which you won't do, by the way.
No, of course.
You won't do it.
It's a violation of privacy.
You shouldn't do it.
Inherent rights and stuff, guys. Topic the second. Rich McCormick wrote a piece this week for The Verge claiming that giant time-sucking video games are bad for you and bad for gaming. That's actually the headline.
It's a long headline.
So he goes on to talk about The Division and Destiny, claiming that these new MMO-style shooters are designed specifically to monopolize your time. In general, he believes the market is too saturated with big, sprawling games. He thinks publishers are betting big on making games that become the only game people will play. So is he right? Is it all too much? Should we just give up and go do something else? What's the point, guys? Fuck it, right? I guess I'm gonna take the first one here.
All right.
Big games are necessary. Big games are the fruition of an industry that has saw the light of day in MUDs and everything else, and they like wished one day that they could be fully immersed in something that would take up this amount of time. Now, granted, this is probably more accessible to kids or teenagers that have a little bit more time to spend, let's say, than adults who these games are specifically marketed to. It's a weird kind of like disparate, discrepancy. I still play Destiny when I have time. I haven't started The Division yet. I'd like to, but big games are not the problem. If you don't have time for that shit, then don't fucking play it. But don't turn around and start bitching about the fact that it's ruining gaming and it's bad for you. No, it's not. It's like binge watching. It's the same fucking thing. You can watch a TV show that has 6 seasons and go for hours, or play a game that goes for hundreds of hours. Who gives a shit? It's the same fucking thing. You get to choose your own level of involvement. Be a responsible adult.
Cool story.
Thanks.
I will award you all seasons of The Walking Dead on DVD so you can binge watch it.
All right.
You should watch Stargate instead. It's longer.
Yeah, there you go.
Stargate.
Something more committal, like Stargate. All of
Fair
Stargate.
Like 15 seasons.
And also, and next to that, we'll duct tape to it like all of Friends as well.
There you go. Just because.
Frasier.
Just the whole NBC lineup. Cheers, the whole deal.
Yeah.
Mr. Arroyo, give me a minute.
Ruining game. This is such a weird one because I feel like we kind of touched on it in the last topic, the main topic that we were talking about. If you were listening.
Mm-hmm. Oh, topic number 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's one of those, if you can't do it, it's situational, right? If I can't do it, I don't do it, and because I understand my personality. But what this doesn't touch on, and something you kind of failed to mention, is the capturing of addictive personalities. When a game is designed specifically to monopolize your time, it's tugging at the heartstrings of the whales, the people that can't control themselves, the people that get involved in something like that and become addicted to the concept. I mean, there's a reason why smokers smoke. There's a reason why people do those kind of things, because they are addictive. And once they hook you, they have you, and then every little microtransaction makes them more money as a result. So is it ruining gaming? Well, people who explicitly set out to focus on those idiosyncrasies of the average populace, then yes, those people are hurting gaming. But as a whole, probably not. It's just another addiction.
Give him some game achievements.
Give me cigarettes.
I will award you. What's the TV show about addicts all the time? What's the TV show that they do? Nobody remembers the name. I'll give you a full season of that in response.
Full season of that. Here, smoke up, Johnny.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good movie intro for the future.
Yeah.
Little Breakfast Club. Okay. Mr. Nick Golish, round us out for the day.
How's it going? This reminds me of the exact same argument where like our esports ruining video games or PC games. I mean, this is the exact same thing. It's like our large game. It's our big games. They say it like big data, big tobacco or something. Our big games ruining gaming. It's like probably not. I mean, there's so many small games out there you can play too. Like. The indie market, you can just play whatever you want. Why
mobile for them?
Yeah, it's the exact same argument I have as our esports like ruining games. If you don't like esports, don't play esports. Like play Stardew, play Undertale, play the short games that you want to play. Play frickin' Sudoku on your phone. I don't give a crap. Like big games ruining my like gaming experience? No, not really. I think. They're fun for some people, not fun for others.
That's valid.
Stop big games.
Stop big tobacco.
I'm going to give you 4 tobacco lobbyists and 3 star fruits and 4 honeydew melons because you put them together and you get Stardew.
Oh my god!
The tobacco lobbyists give me
but the star fruit and the honeydew melon does.
Oh, what do the tobacco lobbyists do?
I don't know. I feel like tobacco became like a running
tobacco.
Tobacco
Tobacco sauce.
That's how the indigenous cultures pronounce it. I think it became like a running theme though for the.
But it worked.
It's fine.
Tobacco.
It's addiction.
But I like it. Next week, I'm sure we'll have a lightning round topic about our small games ruining PC games.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
is the indie market too flooded?
Mobile game is ruining it. Games are ruining everything, you guys.
Are games ruining games?
Right.
Guys?
But I actually saw like a headline today. It's like, oh, games are you're actually improving your social skills by playing video games. I'm like, oh, that's nice.
Our games ruining on education.
We do a podcast because we can't talk to real people, so we just talk to nothing. We talk to the void.
We talk to nothing. That's not fair.
No, we're talking to you, listener, and thank you for listening.
Good save. But if we saw you in real life and met you, we'd be so awkward and nervous.
It'd be like we encourage you to like come up like no whatever. I don't know. I don't even know how to handle this right now. It's not a problem we have. So keep listening. We'll keep making the podcast. Good story. I think we've eaten enough Rocky Road for one day, guys. Episode 88 is it's officially done. So thank you for being here, listener. In all honesty, we appreciate you listening. We're gonna keep doing it as long as you're doing that. So we're always curious to know what you think. So feel free to reach out. Hit us up, cheatcodespodcast.com, on our Facebook page, Twitter. Get in on the conversation. I think we posed a couple good questions that are worthy of your input, and we'd like to hear it. Stay tuned for a new episode coming next week. Make sure you check out the giveaways portion of the site. Undertale up for grabs. So go get your hands on some Undertale. I was about to say underwear.
Chase the tail.
Chase the tail. I don't know. Yeah, sure. So make sure you go and check it out. Get your hands on some free stuff. And until then, see you next time. Cheat codes never say die, motherfuckers. We love you. See you.
Pretty sure motherfuckers
It was not part of it. They edited that part out of the Goonies. It's fine. Bye, guys. We'll see you.